Hello y'all, I'm back again for another video, and this video is going to be about toxic comparisons. So what do I mean by toxic comparisons? It's through conversation when you're maybe communicating about a narcissist or the narcissist, and somehow when you're communicating about an issue, there's a comparison made. And I'm going to give you an example. And another reason I'm bringing this issue up is so that we can all make sure that we work on not devaluing people as far as what they've done. And when I say what they've done, okay, if someone's went to college and they've gotten their master's degree, not devaluing them as if they just finished high school. Because sometimes toxic comparisons can be just like an outright lie. So, with this being said, what happens is sometimes you may be made to feel, or you're kind of put in the same boat as someone else. And a lot of times it's with a relative. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of how this may work. And first, I'm going to use an example of two people walking down the street. Okay, and how these two people behaved once they walked down the street. So you got two people. One is on one side of the street going north, and the other is on the other side of the street going south. So, yes, these two people do have something in common. They are walking. However, what they end up doing on the walk makes them have almost nothing in common, especially on a mental note. Okay, so one person is walking down the street and they choose to go to get some coffee, they choose to go out to eat, they choose to walk to get a few pounds off, they choose to go meet someone at the park, to run around the track. Okay, that's one individual. But the other person on the other side of the street, they're walking to go find someone to rob and murder. They've already consciously made a decision that whomever they rob, they plan to murder them. So it would be like a toxic comparison would be you explaining what this other person did. Okay. And you said, I was on a walk this particular afternoon, and come to find out, this other person that I saw walking on the other side of the street ended up walking, robbing someone, and murdering them. And that would be like the person saying to you, well, what's the difference? Both of y'all was on a walk. That's true. But you were just walking to get coffee, to go out to eat, go meet someone at the park, to jog with them or something like that. So that would be a toxic comparison, because in that particular case, there's nothing really that you have in common. It's almost irrelevant that you both were on this walk. You have nothing in common with the nature of this other person. But say, for example, if someone said to you, well, you're no different than them. You were both on a walk. So what? You were just going to get coffee or going for a jog or going out to eat, and this other person murdered someone. I don't see what the difference is. And those are the type of conversations you will have if someone's being a little narcissistic and they're devaluing you. So that is actually a devaluation because you are being devalued for your good. Because yes, you were on a walk, but you harmed no one. You might have even prayed while you were on your walk. So when you're telling this person or someone that you know, say you're talking to your neighbor, and this was your neighbor you were talking to, and you don't know your neighbor is highly narcissistic, and your neighbor says, well, who are you to judge? Yeah, that person robbed and killed somebody, but you were on a walk too. And you're thinking to yourself, oh no. And then you actually say out loud, yes, I was on a walk, but me and that person have nothing in common. I don't care if we were both walking. We have nothing in common because when I was on my walk, this is what I was doing. So, what made me bring up this comparison is I actually was having a conversation and it was kind of similar. It was like I'm saying to the individual, that this particular person is moving out. It's kind of like, okay, you got a relative that's moving out too fast. However, they're choosing to be irresponsible and sleep outside. They want to sleep outside because they want freedom. They want to do what they want to do. They want to get up when they want to get up. They don't want to have to attend school or go to college or whatever. And then someone says to you, well, you moved out early. They're doing the same thing as you. However, when you moved out early, when you were 17 or 18 years old, you were working, you were responsible. If you had any children already, you were taking care of them. There's a big difference in moving out just to be irresponsible and sleeping outside and not work and not maintain a place. You're not paying any rent. You're not buying groceries. You're out there stealing and things like that. So during this conversation I was having, I actually had to express that. Well, because the person said, well, you're doing the same thing. No, it's just like the example with the walk. It's not even a comparison. Because when I moved out, which I did, I moved out as a young adult. I was not stealing. I was not choosing to sleep on the ground. I was preparing for marriage and things of that sort. So I was ready to bring a family into the world. I was clean. Hygiene matters too. And a lot of times when narcissists are choosing to be out there on the street, and I'm talking about when somebody's making a pure choice to destroy their life, and someone is only looking at the fact, well, they're just like you because they moved out early too. But it goes back to the toxic comparison, like I mentioned with the walk. So in those type of situations, just especially if it's relationships that you want to keep in your life, and a lot of times, just because someone does a toxic comparison, it's your position to point out the evidence, right? So when there's a toxic comparison done, what makes it toxic is this: they're only looking at that one piece that you have in common. Just that one piece. You both moved out early, or like in the first example, you both are on the walk. So that within itself is pretty toxic because, and it's going to end up being a toxic comparison because not all the details are included. And if you actually are going to compare something, details have to be included. Because if not, it's going to end up in a devaluation of that person. Because in that sense, I had to say, no, it's a big difference. I was moving out. For one, I was ready to move out. I was in school. I was working. I was cleaning my home. I had correct hygiene. I was drug free. So I took everything that my grandmother and mom and everyone else in my family that helped raise me, I took those skills and I was ready at a young age to be out on my own. I actually was. However, with the toxic comparison, that's like somebody comparing you to someone that just moved out early because they want to be a drug addict, or they moved out early because they want to get in bad organizations. Sometimes they move out early because they want to sell drugs, they want to sell weapons. I'm just using examples like that. And I'm not saying anyone in my family is doing all of that. I'm just specifically pointing out some of the bad things that people can move out to do. So be very of be very careful of toxic comparisons, because it is a form of devaluing your good and your nature and what you are. And so what I did in the situation, I stated the fact, yeah, you're right. We both did move out at a young age. This other individual and I moved out at a young age. However, that one element is correct that we have in common. However, the way we did it and our circumstances were totally different. I was responsible, and this other individual is being irresponsible and literally putting themselves in danger. Okay. I mean, literal danger, like anyone that would choose to sleep outside when they can go to their home is putting themselves in danger. So just be careful of toxic comparisons. And by now, you've had that happen. However, you might have not looked at it in this way. You might have not looked at it as a toxic comparison because maybe you didn't think much about it. But going forward, be mindful and listen. Because remember, if someone is in a narcissistic state at that time, or if they're devaluing you, sometimes people jealous, y'all. They just ain't gonna give you credit for what you did. Sometimes when they say stuff like that, they know you're good. And so what happens is a lot of people aren't going to take up the time to point out the details because they don't care to. They're just point blank, well, you moved out early, they moving out early. However, y'all didn't move out for the same reason. It's just like the first example. These two people that were on the walk, they didn't even know each other. One's walking north, the other one's walking south on a totally different side of the street. There's no way I would compare those two people. But remember, what did the neighbor tell the person? Well, you're no different than that murderer, because y'all both was on a walk. Well, yeah, I was on a walk, but I didn't rob and kill nobody, sir or ma'am. So be mindful of toxic comparisons. I've been on this bike almost 15 minutes, y'all. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of the day. I decided to do a video this morning before I go on to my normal work activities for the day for my job. So I really, really am so grateful that you tuned into this video. I got my lemonade here, y'all. And so I'm enjoying this lemonade. A lemonade with light ice is so good for asthma, y'all. It's just so good. And it's just so refreshing. I mean, it does a lot of things. It also, when you're doing a video, you notice, I don't know if y'all noticed this, I'm not the type of person when I'm doing a video, I don't clear my throat often, very rarely. Also, there's a pause button. I mean, I feel like if you're going to be coughing and you can feel it coming, put it on pause. However, the reason I don't have a lot of that coughing and stuff like that is because I do drink sweet tea and lemonade. So it's very healthy. And so I recommend it for you also. And it's just a good thing for you. And it keeps you hydrated as you're exercising too. It just keeps you hydrated and it keeps you on the right path and stuff like that. And you'll just do so much better, as far as like being able to breathe better and stuff like that when you're on your bike. Or some of y'all might be on a treadmill, who knows? However, it's definitely worth it. And I suggest, when you're doing videos, if you start your YouTube channel, hey, have that lemonade or sweet tea in hand, especially if you're doing a video and you're not necessarily showing your face all the time. You have a little bit more freedom to do more in the background. You can be on your bike, you can have your lemonade, you can have your sweet tea. So I hope this video helped you so much. And what I would like to teach you too is just make sure in your life, even if you're an empath or a normal, or if you're narcissistic or actually a narcissist, narcissists are just going to do it naturally. I mean, sometimes they have the inability, especially if they don't even have cognitive empathy, to notice the details. So, but as empaths, we have that ability. We have that ability to notice the details, right? So, we want to make sure that as empathetic people, we understand that two people that are running and one choosing to just take a walk or run, I apologize because my first example was a walk. Two people that are walking, one going north, one going south. One does good things on their walk and the other person actually takes a walk to go rob and kill. The nature of those two people are nothing alike, even though one was on a walk and so was the second person. They don't have anything in common, not in the real sense of the word. They're just two people walking. So as far as like the mentality of these two people, their mentalities are not the same. You're not just like somebody else, or you don't deserve to be compared to somebody else in that matter just because you were on the walk. Okay? So in these type of situations, if you want to maintain healthy relationships, point out that detail. No, I was on this walk, however, I didn't kill anybody. Because you want to have people around you that are going to base what they say about you based on facts, not fiction. So please like, share, and subscribe. Please leave a comment. Thank you so much for listening. And I appreciate y'all so much.